So there are just so many different vehicles inside of War Tycoon, and some of them are actually kind of in a need or to actually get some kind of innovation, because right now they seem to be incredibly outdated, which just causes people to be using them way less and just be seen way less in the meta. But in this video, I'll be talking about the top 5 most outdated vehicles in War Tycoon, in my personal opinion, and some spots may be taken by a few vehicles at once, but I'll just try to make this video as simplistic as possible. So jump into number 5 position, I'll be calling in the AC-130 gunship. And the only reason I'm going to be ranking the AC-130 gunship over here as one of the most outdated vehicles in this game is because of the fact it does have a quiet old design, and just as the time kind of goes, it's pretty much way easier and easier every single update to go ahead and counter this vehicle, because people do seem to be understanding it more and more. And the fact that everyone just understands this vehicle so freaking much just causes this vehicle to be way less useful overall, but just the fact is it should be having way more weaponry than what it does actually have set in the game, which is actually quite unfortunate. But I believe the reason why the AC-130 isn't as powerful as it should be is because of the fact is when it was added, the balancing in the game was a lot different than what it is by this day. So yeah, that is going to be our number 5 spot. So the number 4 position is actually going to be going ahead and taken by the mouse. And the mouse, ever since it was added, when there were actually very limited amount of tanks in the game and people didn't really understand how to counter the mouse is actually really simplistic, but actually simply incredibly effective, and I really like the mouse for this reason. But now as we move into the modern days, I'm gonna be honest, in the recent 3 months, maybe I've seen a mouse about 1 to 2 times, and I really do used to play this game a lot. I still do play this game a lot until this day, so I am quite surprised on how much the mouse has truly died out, but I guess it does also make sense since the tanks are no longer meta. But just the fact is, the mouse is pretty much a tank in War Tycoon that's very much comparable to the Sherman, just because of the fact how easy it is to kill, and it's just very much outdated these days. Like, if it was to have a buff, I think that would be pretty cool in terms of just being able to turn slightly better. However, the mouse is actually really realistic. I gotta give the developers this. It's just very outdated. Now, going ahead and moving into the helicopters, I do have 2 of my personal picks, which are going to be the Huey and the Black Hawk. They are both pretty much useless in this game. Almost nobody uses them. I haven't seen these things used in like 10 years. Like, the Lakota just outclasses them every single way. The AH-6 Little Bird also outclasses them. They're just really not used at all in this meta. It does very much suck. But there is one more vehicle I would like to talk about in particular, which is one helicopter that does have pretty good firepower, but it is just outclassed by every single other helicopter on this list. This has to be the Eurocopter Tiger. Almost no one uses this. Like, it's been so many months already since I haven't seen this vehicle practically used. Almost never. Like, I don't see anyone using the Eurocopter these days, and I believe the reason being is because there are just way better helicopter options out there, but the Eurocopter in particular is actually incredibly weak, if I have to be honest. The only thing that's standing for it is its missiles. Its main gun is actually not this strong, which is quite unfortunate. But yeah, I will be mainly picking the Eurocopter for the number 3 category. It really is outclassed and outdated, and no one uses it these days in terms of pure firepower. Now, moving into the garage, and I do have 2 vehicles to showcase. One of them being is of course going to be the Gurkha MPV. Oh man, I miss the Gurkha days in the good old days when people used to actually use this, and it used to be regarded as some of the stronger firepower in the game. Now it is an absolute joke. No one has seen it in like such a long time, which is quite unfortunate, but again, it does very much make sense since this vehicle pretty much in the modern meta barely does anything. But another exemplar of this is a vehicle that does get outclassed by the Katyusha. It has to be the HIMARS these days. It is unfortunate what has happened to it, because the HIMARS, whenever it was added, it used to be one of the first ever vehicles to receive some kind of firepower, and everyone just used to drive this around and just absolutely abuse the heck out of it, just because of the fact it did have pretty strong rockets and there was barely any firepower vehicles back in the day. I think it was the first ever vehicle in the game that had rockets inside of it, and I gotta say, it used to be very fun to mess around with this. But now in the modern meta, nope, no one's gonna be using it until the artillery does get a rework. But I still really like the HIMARS. I think it's a cool vehicle. It just is outdated once again, as it says by the title of this video. And now finally moving into our number one spot, this is a pretty obvious pick. It has to be the drones and just this area as a whole. The drones have pretty much seen no use in I believe a year or two now, which is absolutely insane, by the way. Which I'm gonna be totally honest, these are not very much drones, they're not the ones that we would be expecting. They have had a little bit of a revamp recently by just changing the color of them, but there's nothing really special about it. I really do like the idea of the battery mechanics. I really wish that they would be reworking drones as a whole and we will be able to kind of use them like we used to, just being able to kind of go out and be pretty much safe without being attacked or killed as a player, because of course we're not going to be going inside these drones. I really would love this mechanic to be shining a lot more and just adding a lot more modernized drones into the game, but overall these things, they're just not used anymore. Everyone has to be carrying the EMP around these days, and they just pretty much have no use. And I believe buffing these drones, it's not gonna give them any more use now. They just really need a rework and just need to have a different way of actually being spawned and just having way stronger drones in the game. Anyway, that was my top 5 list in this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, in your opinion, what are your top 5 most unused and just overall outdated features in War Tycoon, or just vehicles as a whole. Today I decided to cover vehicles, but you could always talk about features in the comment section down below if you'd like me to do this video for other stuff rather than the vehicles. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much to my channel members.